Let's move on to Chiefs Broncos. I reached out to Birdie and I was like, Birdie, how did we not go back to the well with the Broncos? Now, I had the Broncos plus 10, and on our Sunday show, John Ryan had the balls to not only give out the Broncos plus 7.5 as his best bet, but also told everyone to take Broncos money line. That's enormous balls clanging around. And there's one 10.5 on. There's a couple 10.5s on the. Oh no, sorry, 1 10.5 on the board offshore. That's at plus money. Let's see what the licensed books. There aren't even 10s on the board at the licensed books. See what Bet365 is offering. Obviously you can tell that two things are at play here. One, every capper has to deal with their subconscious and the shit that goes on in our head that makes capping difficult. And one is the recency factor combined with cashing a bet. And that's what's going on with the Broncos for me. And it makes me want to go right back to the well, but I could only get 9.5 right now. I think that 10 is very important. And if you can get that 10.5, I would fire right now. Chiefs are dealing with a short week. They ran 46 times for 245 yards in a 26-17 win over the Bills on Monday night. 5-1, 3-0 on the road. Second week in a row on the road. Going up against the Broncos, who've yet to win at home. The number of carries for the Chiefs matched their most under Reed, and the yardage total was the 5th most by any of Reed's teams in Kansas City or Philadelphia. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did most of the work, 26 rushes for 161 yards. That's the 3rd most yardage by a rookie in franchise history, and now they add Le'Veon Bell to the mix. Mahomes, 21-26 for 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 picks. After their defense couldn't even come close to slowing down Derek Carr, they completely shut down Josh Allen. Completely shut him down. Josh Allen throws for 122 yards. The Chiefs' offensive line that got dominated by the Raiders' front four looked completely different. So Daniel Kilgore was replaced by Austin Ryder at center. That was the first big move. Then Mike Remmers moved to right tackle. Nick Allegretti replaced Osemele at left guard. And Mitchell Schwartz missed the game with a back injury. I believe he had something like 159 straight games he'd played. And also Alex Okafor left with a strained hamstring. For the Broncos, it was a strange game. It was a game where the only reason why you could be comfortable is because we had all the points. I mean, they scored on their first 6 drives, but they didn't get a touchdown all game. McManus had 6 field goals. Locke was 10-24 for 189 yards with 2 picks. Right when you got comfortable, he throws back-to-back picks. They had a 17-day layoff. They were without Melvin Gordon, which meant nothing because Philip Lindsay was awesome. 23 rushes for 101 yards. Tim Patrick had another big day. 4 catches for 101 yards. Hamler, questionable. Atochu, doubtful, their linebacker. Deontay Spencer left the game with a shoulder issue. He's questionable. Josh Watson left the game with a hamstring injury. He's questionable, their linebacker. And then guard Dalton Risner also left with a shoulder injury. So they do have injuries after that 17-day break. Kaido says, without Noah Fant, the real piece missing. Noah Fant right now, who's out with an ankle injury, is questionable. And I'm sitting here thinking, if I can get 10, I fire on the Broncos right away. Bebsy, take it away. Chiefs Broncos.
Yeah, I don't even know if at 10 I'm going to do it. Broncos have some key injuries. I think you're getting excited off of cashing off of them.
Yeah,
it's still an okay Denver team that has a ton of injuries facing the champs. Yeah, they're at home. Yes, it's at Mile High. Look, this Chiefs football team is fantastic. You mentioned Bell. I don't think Bell is eligible to play yet for them. I also don't think even if he does or if he is eligible to play that he's going to be a huge factor. I almost feel like that was just insurance for them. I don't see him cutting into touches that much for at least Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's too many points for me to want to jump on the Chiefs. But, man, they should cover. they should be able to cover, especially 9.5. I understand why you would want to get to 10 because that does make it a little easier, but I don't even think 10 is the right number for this. I still think Chiefs roll. I don't know how much of a factor if anything, Mile High should help Mahomes cashing downfield. Thin air. Maybe he throws for 80 yards in the air. It's a no play for me. I get your excitement after cashing off Denver. It's tough to bet against the Chiefs right now.
Great call by who gave it to us? Great call with the weather here. Sorry, I just had it here. I'll find out who hooked us up with it. But yeah, I try to stay away from the weather on these Tuesday shows just because they've actually hurt me. But man, everything changes between Saturday and Sunday in a violent way. Saturday's high is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunday's high is 27, low 15. It will be snowing, snow showers. How will that affect your thought process here? This total still sitting at 48, Bebsy.
It doesn't. These teams are so well prepared to play. The Chiefs can play in the snow. Unless it's an absolute blizzard, I don't think that factors in very much for me.
It was Christian Larson.
Also, we're talking about, weather at altitude. That changes hourly. That changes by the minute. How are we discussing weather on a Tuesday in a game played in the mountains?
Huh. Okay, well, let's say it's snowy. I know that you've, taken the importance of that away. But if I see a snowy field, that makes me more comfortable with the Broncos in the under. Am I just diving way too much into the weather there?
I think so, because like I just said, the weather changes so fast at altitude. So to try and make a guess on what the weather's going to be 5 days from now is just silly.
Yeah. That's what Michael Ricciardi is saying. The weather in Colorado, weather's so erratic. I have family there. Can snow and be dry in 6 hours. Slats 45 said, do you see Locke last week? 6 field goals won't get it done against KC, but I'm off of it. Nuke Worker said Chiefs won 36 in Mile High last year. Chiefs are the pick.
Yeah, it's Chiefs or nobody for me. And Jimmy, you can't let that recent cash on the Broncos fire you up that much.
No, I hear you, and that's why. I said it right off the top. Clearly, there's all these things that we fight against as handicappers, and those of you who watch me all the time know that there's one book that I talk about over and over and over and over again. It's been the most helpful book of any book I've ever read on gambling, ever. Don't count poker books into it, just like sports gambling. And that's The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis. And it's all about the vividness bias, the recency bias. And there's only one chapter on sports. It's the first chapter on Morey and the Rockets. It's the most riveting chapter I've ever read of any book in my life.
Wow, that's bold.
It is. It's the most riveting chapter of any book I've ever read in my life, the first chapter of The Undoing Project. So that's why I said it right up the top, because I knew it was clearly at play was the fact that I just cashed on them. And there's all these things we have going on in our head that hurt us handicapping.
Jimmy, your self-awareness is second to none, I must say.
Thank you. Steel Curtains, written by Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball. All right, under 48.5. This Chiefs team knows they can succeed running the ball down other teams' throats. The Broncos don't look capable of putting up touchdowns. And Tex says that I've read 2 books, that and Huckleberry Finn. So for me, I think this under 48.5 is in play, man. Do you think that Reed will show a team that he can run the ball for 300 yards and then switch it completely up the next week?
It almost feels like Reed is toying with other teams right now. I think he's well aware of how much better they are than other teams. And yeah, one week could be the run show, the next week could be the air show. I got a feeling like when playoff time rolls around, we're going to see sets and game plans from them that we haven't seen all year. They're just look, they won the Super Bowl and then got better. Not a ton of teams do that.
No. Okay, I'm going to write the book in the chat just so it's there if you guys want to check it out. And I think, okay, this is what I think can happen. I bet the under 48.5 now. The public starts reading the snow reports, the cold reports. It goes down to 45, and I can take the over and get a middle if I want, if I'm scared. So I am going to move on the under 48.5 if it's available when I bet it in I guess, about an hour from now.